I'm going to show you a couple of ways of using the Meyer square, which is actually not as he intended, or at least not the way he described it in his book. What I'm going to show you is this, which is using the tool to learn how to cut to all four openings with smooth transitions, short edge and long edge, and using footwork. I'm going to show you a couple of other ways of using the square as well, and if you stay tuned, at the end of the video, I'll describe what he actually talked about using this tool for. We are looking at Joachim Meyer's The Art of Combat, and if you turn to chapter 10, he introduces this square, which is one of many diagrams he uses for drilling, and he describes using it for paired drilling. So you're cutting, your opponent is reacting, there's parries, and it's actually quite complex in advance. And I think we can use it more simply than that, and I think a lot of people use it that way. If you look at the guy on the right, he's divided into, well, 6 parts, but if you imagine 4 parts, you have the upper windows and the lower windows. And the diagram shows us how all 4 cuts, starting from 1, working to 2, 3, and 4, in circles moving inwards on the diagram. I'm going to put my sword down and show you what I mean by this. So if we find the number 1 on the outer circle, that's our first cut. Cutting from the right side, descending, we find the 2, cutting up, ascending, find the 3, cutting up, ascending, and 4, we're cutting descending. Now we find the 1 on the second circle, find the 2, find the 3, find the 4. Now we move to the third circle, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're moving to the last circle, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 2 upper quadrants are always descending cuts, and the 2 lower quadrants are always ascending cuts. I'm going to pick up my sword and show this with no footwork, just simple long edge cuts down with no transition in between. So find the 1, we're doing a descending cut down. Now find the 2, an ascending cut up. Find the 3, ascending cut up. Find the 4, descending cut down. Second circle, find the 1, find the 2, find the 3, and lastly we find the 4. Now we move into the third circle, 1, 2, find the 3, that's an ascending cut, find the 4, descending cut. We're moving into the last circle, 1, cut down 2, cut down 3, cut up 4. Now that was simple with just true edge, no transitions, so you understand how to use the square. Now let's add in the short edge cuts, or the wields. Still no footwork though. We're only going to add one element at a time. First find the 1, do a wield, find the 2, do another wield, find the 3, do a wield, find the 4. Moving into the second circle, cut up, short edge, cut down, short edge, cut down, short edge, cut up. So see how I'm doing those short edge cuts or little wields first before executing the cut that aligns with the number on the square. Those little short edge cuts or wields, they enable you to have smooth transitions in between your cuts. So here I'm doing it like quite slowly to show you where one cut starts and the next cut begins. But once you have the flow down and you're confident with which number you're looking at, you add this all together in one fluid motion, and it's very satisfying to do. But for now, we're just understanding how to use the square, keeping it relatively simple. Let's add in the footwork. So we're starting with our left leg forward, and we want to make sure that we're always stepping on the same side that we're cutting. So since the first cut, number 1, in the upper right hand corner, we're cutting right, we are stepping right. So we're going to do cut 1, step right, cut 2, step left, cut 3, step right, cut 4, step left again. So each time we cut, depending on which side we're cutting on, we are moving our feet in accordance. Now, this is not necessarily how we spar, especially when you're in Krieg. You're not stepping always into the cut or into the parry. Sometimes your feet are planted or you have the opposite leg forward. But when we solo drill, we can work on making sure we are cutting moving fluidly with our feet. It's a different tool for a different purpose. All right, so now let's cut to long point and thrust. So imagine you're cutting to the window. When you do the ascending cuts, you're cutting to maybe their elbow, and then the opening is there for you to thrust. Learning how to thrust from each cut, even the awkward cuts from below. This is a good tool for that. I'm doing it simply here with just right leg forward the whole time, or dominant leg forward, but you can, if you want to make this a little bit more advanced, you can change feet depending on what side you're cutting on, as I did before, and then add in the thrust. Another way of using this tool is using only short edge cuts the whole way. I don't show that here, but that's described in the text. And another way of using the tool is doing only parries. Okay, so here is a plate where they're using Dusac on a different diagram, but quite similar. So I want to use this with Saber. I've never done it before. I'm curious how it will work out. I'm using my Siggy Saber with a Lord of the Rings engraving I don't understand. And let's try it out. So starting from 1, then doing the rising cuts from below, and then the last sinking cut. I found that I really liked using the Meyer square for Saber because those ascending cuts can be quite tricky when you're aiming for like the forearm or the elbow. They can be quite awkward. And it's really good to learn how to transition from one cut into those, a descending cut into those, and vice versa. As I mentioned, Meyer actually describes in the text using this tool for paired drilling, but I think that's once you've actually mastered using it solo. So for example, he talks about doing 3 slashing motions upwards towards your opponent. This creates space so that you have room to execute the cuts to the 4 windows. And then they would do things like parry or move themselves, and you have a more of a dynamic drill going on. And that's fine as a paired drill, but if you're doing this solo against a wall, 3 slashing motions upwards becomes performative and kind of pointless. So I'm omitting that for now. But once you've mastered these 4 cuts, then you can add that in. Something else he talks about is the craft, which is once you've mastered your long edge cuts, short edge cuts, parries, all the different combinations, you have the craft, which basically teaches you how to respond when your opponent sees your cut coming. So say you're doing your cut number 1, cut number 2, you start your cut number 3, they go to parry it, so you pull the cut and move without hesitation directly into cut number 4. Now this is more advanced, and you can use the square solo in this way as well, but it requires you to have mastered the transitions and doing those long edge and short edge cuts first, which is why I like to use the tool the way that I presented it in this video. I can, however, show you how to use it in this way. If you ask me nicely, I'll make that video for you as well. Just let me know. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. Please DM me if you want a specific video. I'd be happy to make it.